Most homeowners over 50, they're about to make a $100,000 mistake. In this video, I'm going to show you the downsizing mistakes that nobody talks about and what you need to do instead. So, mistakes like selling the family home before figuring out what they actually want next, moving into something smaller without thinking about whether it fits the life they want, leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity, lifestyle, and the freedom that you're desiring, leaving it on the table. I'm Weldon Hobbs, and I help homeowners who are downsizing, right sizing, align their life with their home so that way they can actually enjoy this chapter that they're headed into. And if you like this type of content, hit the like button and let's get into it. So, mistake number one, look, selling the house before you've decided what you actually want next. This is the big one. It's the $100,000 mistake. Here's how it goes. So the house feels too big, the stairs are getting old, the kids are gone. So you do the obvious thing. You call an agent and you list it. And then you'll figure out what you want to do next once it sells. That's backwards because the house isn't the decision. The life is the decision. The house is just the tool, the place that you live in order for you to achieve the life and the wealth goals that you have. When you sell first and you plan later, you're negotiating under a clock. You take the first smaller place that's available instead of the right one. You make a permanent move to solve a temporary feeling. And 6 months later, you're sitting in a place that's smaller but doesn't actually fit your life. And you're wondering why you don't feel freer. Why don't you have that freedom that you were looking for? You feel boxed in. So before you list anything, answer one question. What do you want this next chapter to look like? Not less house. Less house is not a goal. Do you want to travel? Do you want to be near grandkids? Still host the whole family at holidays? Garden, walk to coffee, name the life first. This is what matters. This is you. You've worked so hard to give yourself the opportunity to achieve this. So the right house, it falls out of that answer. Do it in the other order though, and you're guessing with your biggest asset. Friends, life transitions, they fall apart without a plan or the right folks to talk to in order to make sure you've accounted for all the decisions that are in front of you. So making sure that your life goals, they align with your wealth goals, which complements your real estate goals. Look, this is important to do. Look in the caption below. You're going to see start.askweldonhobbs.com, and we have all sorts of resources there and coaching opportunities should that be helpful to you in your situation. And it's going to help you walk you through, do I have the right teammates, the knowledge, and everything that make your life transition successful. I look forward to connecting to you when the time is right. And if you haven't already, click that like and subscribe button. More life, wealth, and real estate content coming your way all the time. Mistake number two, leaving a fortune on the table at the closing. So this is equity and tax mistakes. And let's talk about where the $100,000 actually hides, because it's not one thing, it's two, and they both show up at the sale. So first you have capital gains, which when you sell your primary home, the IRS lets you keep a big chunk of profit tax-free, up to $250,000 if you're single, $500,000 if you're married, and as long as you've lived in that home for 2 out of the last 5 years. That's IRS Section 121, and those numbers, they're current. But here's the trap. If your spouse has passed, you often drop from $500,000, that $500,000 exclusion down to $250,000 after a certain time period. And so on a house that you've owned for 30 or 40 years, and that's appreciated over that time, which they all have, that difference can be a 6-figure tax bill. And you might have never seen that coming, especially if your tax structure is not there, whether it's in a trust or otherwise. There are ways to plan around it though. The timing of the sale, the step up in basis when a spouse passes, and how the title's held. But only again, if you look at it before the sale of the home. After closing, your options, they're gone. Now, second, you leave equity on the table by selling in a rush or at the first cash offer because you were in a hurry just to be done. The number on the closing statement is the rest of your life's funding. Treat it that way. A little planning here is the difference between a comfortable next chapter and a tight one. Mistake number three, the Medicare trap that hits 2 years after you sell. Now, this one is brutal because it's invisible when it happens and it ambushes you later. And it's called IRMA, Income Related Adjustment Amount to your Medicare premiums. And here's the mechanic. When you sell a house with a big gain, that gain can spike your income for the year. And Medicare, it's going to look back 2 years to set your premiums. So a house you sell this year can quietly raise your Medicare bill 2 years from now. Long after the money's been spent or sitting in your bank account and you've forgotten about the sale and that it had anything to do with the Medicare piece. So at the higher income brackets, that's not loose change. It's a meaningful bump on your monthly premium every month for a full year. And nobody's at the closing table warning you about this because it's not their job to. The good news, though, is that it's completely avoidable if you plan the timing of the sale around it, which, like everything else on here, only works if you're thinking 2 steps ahead instead of cleaning up afterwards. That is the exact kind of thing that a certified financial planner, what they're going to catch before it costs you. And most people, they don't even know to ask. And here's a quick reminder because it's a thread through every one of these. Downsizing was never about getting a smaller house. It's about funding and fitting the life that you actually want. Get that order right, and the money and the house both fall into place. Get it backwards, and no floor plan fixes that. Mistake number 4, moving into a space that doesn't fit the life that you actually want. This is the one that turns a smaller home into a smaller life. And it's so common. It's almost a cliche, except it's real and it hurts. You move into the smaller place. It looks great empty. Then real life shows up. The dining table, it's too small to fit everyone at Thanksgiving. So the family stops coming to you. You gave away the guest bed because you won't need it. And now the grandkids have nowhere to sleep. That art that made the house feel like home is in a storage unit because there's no wall for it. The home that you bought for freedom quietly cut you off from the exact things that made life full. That's the downsizing trap. It was never about square footage. It's about whether the space supports the life that you want to live in it. So before you buy, make a list of your non-negotiables. What does your home have now, and what does it need to do, your future home need to do for you? Is it host the family twice a year? Is it have room for a hobby, a guest, room for visitors? Then go find the place that does that, does those things, and ignore the ones that don't, no matter how good of a price that it might be. Smaller is fine, but smaller that erases the life that you want is not. Okay, mistake number 5, and this is rushing into it and doing it in the wrong order. The last mistake that we're going to go through is speed. So people want things handled. We want to move forward. It's natural as human beings. They want to compress a year of decisions into just a few weeks. And rushing forces every other mistake on this list. Let me tell you why I feel this way, and it has to do with my mom and her downsize. It was actually a crisis downsize. It did not happen on a calm schedule. She broke both ankles. Her husband had passed away a few weeks before that, and we had about a week to get her out of the home. An entire week to move a lifetime into a smaller home. 3 bedrooms down to 1. The things we tossed, they were plentiful. I know I made mistakes during that session, during that time of downsizing, but it was the reality of where we were and what we were doing. The decisions we'd make completely differently. We know that there were a few of those, and even if we had a few months, that's not downsizing. At least it's not downsizing well. That's triage. That's what we were doing. And it's the whole reason I do this work now. If life hasn't forced your hand, you have the one thing that my mom didn't, which is time. So use that to your benefit. The families who do this well, they do it in 12 to 18 months, and they give themselves that time. And they do it in the right order. Life first. Name that next chapter that you actually want. Let's set that up for success. Wealth second. Run the equity, the capital gains, the Medicare timing, the right professionals in your corner. Get those sounding boards. Then, and then only then, focus on the real estate. Because you might find aging in place is the best option. You might find selling is the best option. Most people do it backwards. They pick the house, then they force the life, and then they figure out that they made some money mistakes along the way. I'm encouraging you to flip it. That one change saves $100,000 and it saves the next chapter. If you have a big decision or a big transition coming up and you might benefit from some help talking through it, look at the resources in the caption below. You're going to see an opportunity to book time on my calendar. Maybe we already have the solution out there for you. And in this world, we get better by talking with other people. Iron sharpens iron at the end of it. And that's what I love to do with other people is help set them up for success. I'm Weldon Hobbs, and when we're making big decisions, we start with your life goal, we optimize it for wealth, and then we focus on the real estate. Remember, good decisions, they start with good information, and I'll see you in the next one.